are listening to the most comprehensive paranormal archive on the internet.
Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm sharing experiences, true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show, along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show, and friends of the show, including Jen, the Arcane Observer, who has her own channel, and is the co-host of this show on Saturdays, whenever she's able to join me, at the website. And that's salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com, and go from there. This will be a slightly extended episode of experiences here, and I have I plan on going through 8 experiences here, and then we'll see where that ends. That brings us, and that's the plan for this episode. So thank you all for listening, and wherever you're able to, and whenever you're able to, and let me get to where I need to be in this document here, and we'll get started. Let's see. First one's a little bit longer, so that's interesting. Whenever I find or see either longer or really short accounts that I've picked for the show, I know there's a reason for it. Maybe more so than usual with some of the other accounts I find. This one says, when I was 17 and had been dating my ex for about 2 weeks, I was staying at his house for the weekend when his aunt and uncle came to stay a night. His aunt, she had married his biological uncle, wasn't blood related. Look at that R there. Anyway, was talking to his parents about her being a medium or a psychic, and offered to do a little reading type thing with everyone there in a group. During the reading, she had been saying different names and messages and images she was being shown. I was really skeptical at this point because even though she had married into the family, she had been with the uncle for years, so could easily know this information about their family. Then she started saying that she was being shown a house. It had wooden beams on the ceiling and a wood burner in the fireplace. Excuse me. In the garden was concrete steps down to mud, and the house had a staircase that turned back around on itself. She said on the stairs was a painting of a ship on rough seas. She also said she was being shown lilies, but I couldn't connect this at the time. She described my family home, exactly. The living room and kitchen door downstairs had wooden beams on the ceiling. The fireplace was as described, even the painting on the stairs, and how these stairs turned around on themselves was exactly right. She got the garden right, too, and they were landscaping it at the time, hence the mud. My ex hadn't been to my house yet, as we'd only been together for 2 weeks, so he couldn't have explained it to her either. I asked her if she knew who it was that was showing her, and she wasn't sure. She just saw the images. When I got home after the weekend, I told my mom what happened, and she looked proper freaked out. She said we had lilies on the side, and she had thrown them away a couple of days ago while I was away because they had died. They must have been there for a while, and I didn't notice because I was 17 and didn't really think about flowers. I still think about this regularly. I don't understand how she, and I'm guessing they mean the psychic or medium, knew details down to the painting on the wall, and I still wonder who it was that wanted her to see and know this, and why they thought it was important to show it to me. Excuse me. So that's the end of that one. That's fascinating. Um, Especially again, the writer there describes how this family was not familiar with her own home yet. Uh, it is a good question as to who was showing this psychic or medium these things. I wonder though uh, if it was some kind of, again, because I don't know, I'm not either of those things. So I'm wondering here is, was someone telling them these things, or were they just picking up on it somehow through, I don't know, some kind of almost like a remote viewing kind of thing? Um, I'm not really sure. I can't say either way. But the fact that there was lilies involved, and yet the writer had no idea about those, is fascinating. In other words, it was a bit of information that even they did not have. So this person could not have just been picking up on, let's say, thoughts or information in the person or around the person's mind about that person, about the writer of this post, and sort of describing them. So that really is amazing to me, and I don't know how to explain it. But and I do believe that there are people out there that have these abilities. I do think, as with everything else, you have to be careful because um, I'm sure there are people out there that do these things. Um, they're basically lying about things or exaggerating or what they call cold reading, where they'll sort of use whatever means to get information out of the person. Um, and there's I don't know exactly how to describe that clearly, so I'm not going to try. But uh, yeah, I've heard of all these things before, so there's definitely not everyone that claims to have these abilities may have these abilities, but that doesn't mean that some don't. And I think this is a good example of someone that appeared to have these abilities. So, and again, I'm wondering if it was someone that was related to the family of the writer there. Or maybe it wasn't even anyone related to the family, it was someone related to the property itself. All kinds of options there, possibilities there. Moving on to the next experience here. Now this one, funny because the last one was fairly long, but this one is rather short. This one says, "The weirdest thing happened tonight. We had friends over, and I've always felt a presence following me, but everyone has always laughed it off. We were telling jokes, being silly, talking, and suddenly the empty bottle popped a cork, like it's a champagne bottle, flying off between the trash cans. Can someone please help explain what happened?" And that's where that one ends. I wonder if it was just all that collective energy, and especially if there was a presence already there with the person. Uh, wasn't that presence sort of trying to make themselves known? I wonder what they were laughing and joking about. Uh, I don't know. It seems like could be either the person themselves, their own energy, or someone's energy, or the collective energy there, or this presence. Maybe even either trying to send a message and or sort of wanting to get in on the fun of the sort of this party type atmosphere, uh, this gathering. So again, short one, but I do like those, the ones where there's just this one random experience, and other than just a sense of a presence, and other than that, there's no pattern to be found by the people that had the experience. There's nothing before or after. There's no messages that are clear and direct. Just the random objects being manipulated somehow. Moving on to the next one here. This one says, "For the last 5 to 6 years, I've had a very specific recurring setting or scenario constantly appear in my head on and off. It's always the same type of place, an outdoor entertainment and shopping area at night with bright lights, open walkways, restaurants, staircases, palm trees, neon signs, and people everywhere. The layout always felt strangely familiar. and detailed. And in these recurring scenarios, I'm usually running around trying to get somewhere. A few days ago, my family and I were on our way to Disneyland when we passed by this outdoor area near the parks. I looked over at it and instantly got an overwhelming feeling of familiarity. Like, why do I know this place? I had never been there before, which is what made it so unsettling. The more I looked at the outside of it, the more I realized this was the exact place that has repeatedly appeared in my mind for years. Later, I looked it up online and found out it was Anaheim Garden Walk. Once I started scrolling through photos of it, my stomach genuinely dropped because it matched almost perfectly. The atmosphere, the walkways, the lighting, the overall vibe. What freaks me out is that I had never knowingly seen this place before in my life. Never visited it, never walked through it, nothing. Yet somehow it felt deeply familiar the second I saw it. Has anyone else experienced something like this before? Recognizing a place you've never actually been to? And that's where that one ends. This is fascinating to me because, on the one hand, they mention that when they see this place in their mind, they're usually running around trying to get somewhere. So to me, that makes me wonder about some kind of past life memory of the location. If it wasn't for that detail, I would just say they were somehow viewing the place in their mind, somehow connecting to it. And it's what's also fascinating about this is it's not they don't say they were dreaming and they visited this place in their dreams, sort of like an out of body experience. Because I've had that before, where I visited places that I'd never been to before in my dreams, in an out of body experience, and then months or years later, went to that location. I've covered that before in previous shows. Most recently in the series revisiting my experiences with Jen, and so you can check out those episodes for more details on that. But so that's sort of my version of something similar to this experience. But again, the fact that they have this almost like a memory in their mind, even if it doesn't seem like one, of trying to get through this area and being extremely familiar with it. I wonder about, now I don't know how old this location is, how long that's been there, or how old this person is. Um, so I can't say for sure. It's some kind of past life memory. It could even be possibly, I don't know if it could be some kind of alternate parallel universe vision of the place, of maybe in some other version of reality, there's another version of themselves that has a greater tie to that place and has been in the area. I'm not sure. Again, I don't know how all this works, obviously. So yeah, fascinating account there of an experience that they had that is similar but not quite the same as what I've had happen. And I'm sure that it's pretty hard to find, I think, any kind of experience between two people that or experiences that two people had that were exactly the same. It does happen here and there, but there's usually details, and usually they're going to be at least they'll be small, but sometimes they're even large. But still, there's similarities. Moving on to this next one here. This one says, I think I experienced some kind of timeline jump, but I honestly don't know what to make of it. Around 4 p.m. on Friday evening, apparently just the last Friday, that's when they posted this, I was excuse me, I was driving on the motorway in the outside lane when a car in the middle lane suddenly started moving over into my lane like they hadn't seen me at all. It happened so fast that I didn't even have time to beep or react properly. The car must have realized I was there and stayed in the middle lane. My heart was absolutely pounding afterwards. But the weird part is when I kept driving and looked in my I checked in my rearview mirror. The car was completely gone. Not further back, not in another lane, just gone. I know I didn't imagine it because I was fully aware of everything happening in that moment. It felt so real and genuinely shook me up. And that's where that one ends. I wonder if it was a timeline shift necessarily, or just an apparition of a car. And I know that may sound weird, because when you hear the word apparition, you may think it'd be transparent or made of light, or both. But sometimes things that just appear and or vanish have the appearance of being solid, physical objects and or people. So it's impossible to know for sure if what they were seeing was really there physically or not once you realize that whatever this was vanished. Not saying it couldn't have been some kind of timeline shift where they somehow they did shift and they shifted to from maybe one reality to another where the person saw them and got out of the way. Um, I can't say it didn't happen that way. I've had, as I always say, many dream sort of dreams are how I, or at least a dream state, I should say, is how I access or have a lot of these anomalous experiences I have involving out of body experiences and or um, sort of visits to alternate or parallel versions of reality where people I know are different and or places are different, all these kinds of things. And I can tell it's not just a regular dream because of how real it feels. And I have these uh, at least I would say once a week, once every other week. It's pretty often. So I don't know how they work or why they happen, but that's how it goes with me. Uh, but yeah, so I'm not sure what happened there. I'm glad that everything worked out. Obviously, I mean, it's sad that that had to shake them so much, but glad that they made it through that in that experience there. This next one says, "This happened to my older brother a couple of years ago. I don't exactly remember how many. My older brother used to babysit my cousins a lot, and at this time they had 4 cats, if I remember correctly. And the one important for this is S, who is the oldest one. So one day, while my older brother was babysitting them, he sat at the dining room table, eating, while watching his phone. Then he just got pushed from behind like a hard push. He looked behind him, and all that he saw there was S. This is a cat. There is no way a cat could have pushed someone like that, and we still don't know how it happened." And that's where that one ends. It's a short one. Uh, I'd be curious if S was looking at this person when it happened. Uh, in other words, did this cat sense anything, anyone or any energy or whatever, uh, when the push happened? Was the push meant to get attention or otherwise? And it's hard to say. But but yeah, it's I always wonder about that in cases where it's mentioned that pets are around, but there's no mention of. And of course, this is this person talking about this experience their brother had. So it's they couldn't really go into what the cat was doing at the time. Having that many cats though, uh, makes me wonder, and I guess this is something I never thought of before, but can having a large number of pets, especially in this case cats, because there's always been this sort of supposed mystical or paranormal connection between cats and experiences and all these things. Does having that many cats, and I guess really pets of any kind, but in this case and just in general because of the supposed connection, uh, does having 2 or more cats increase the possibility of having these experiences? And I just wonder about that because of my own cat that I have, Logan. Logan, I've seen her teleport before. Basically, I've seen her one place, literally turned around, and seen her walking toward me from the opposite direction. There have been times when um, there's been sort of presences around. Uh, Specifically, one time at night, I got this feeling like there were several people that had come into this apartment. I couldn't see them, couldn't hear them, just a feeling. And at that time, I went and looked outside, and there was uh, some kind of emergency response vehicle outside, across, not right in front of my place, but a little ways away. And I came back and I sat down, and Logan came and sat right next to me. And then eventually the feeling went away. It's like whoever was there went away. And then Logan eventually walked away, like everything was okay after that. And I went and looked outside, and all the lights were gone. So it was like whatever was happening elsewhere on my court that I live on. That's just a sort of a like a miniature block parking lot in the middle. Uh, it feels like Logan was able to sense these presences, and these presences were here. It feels like monitoring or watching the situation over in this other at this other apartment in this apartment complex I live in. And then once the emergency vehicle went away, the presences went away, and everything went back to normal. So, and I've had times where, a couple of different times at least, where I feel like Logan has protected me while I've been sleeping. I've had dreams. Again, this is all in the Revisiting My Experiences series of shows, so I definitely recommend that. I don't want to cover all of that right over again, just as we've been doing this series recently. But yeah, so there's something about cats and dogs to an extent that seems to, I don't know if it draws activity necessarily. I can't say it doesn't, but also they seem to be aware of it. In most cases, sometimes I do find, and I've heard of experiences where people have these sightings, or they'll hear things and they'll look and their pets don't even seem to notice, or if they do, they're totally relaxed. They're not startled, they're not afraid, they're not defending their area or anything like that, they're just there. So, anyway. Moving on to the next one here. This one says, I lived in the woods, near the edge, and the old highway was right at the end of my driveway. We had no pets, and this was a newer house. Anyway, into the story. I've always been pretty drawn to the paranormal as a kid. When I was younger and was left home alone, that's when weird stuff started to happen. I remember during one summer when my parents and sister went somewhere and I stayed behind because I didn't want to go. I had the whole day to myself. The day started off pretty normal. I ate breakfast and did the chores. I had a lot of time to do whatever, so I went on the computer, which was by the fireplace and dining room. The dining room was right next to the kitchen, and it was an open concept area. I was just watching some videos online at the time, and I saw something I don't know how to describe that well, but it was like a fuzzy grayish ball, kind of like light that went from uh, my kitchen into the dining room, and then vanished. And at first, I thought I was imagining things, but I was pretty shaken up, so I ran to my grandparents' house, which wasn't far from mine at the time. Fast forward to a year later, I was home alone watching TV downstairs on the first floor and heard the faucet upstairs, or something, dripping. I had a shower before I came downstairs, so I thought maybe I didn't turn it off properly. So I went upstairs and didn't find anything. So then I closed all the windows upstairs because the wind could have blown them open and I would have been scared. After that, I headed back to the ground floor, and for about 20 minutes, nothing happened. But then I heard footsteps upstairs in my parents' room. And I didn't do anything. I was too scared to. I just wanted my family to get home faster. Now, this is my house, so I don't know what to think. Should I move? I guess they mean now this is my house. So maybe they own the house now. So, should I move? Also, I forgot to mention that my grandma was a psychic. She helped move spirits on and cleansed them out. And my mom had a ghost encounter when she was little with a little girl who disappeared the second my mom looked again. But when I asked her if it was here, in this house, she told me she wasn't going to tell me. I was a child when I asked her about it, if she had any ghost stories. And that's where that one ends. So it's really hard to know here because of the details. Is it the family that has abilities? Again, this hereditary ability to sense these things, to have encounters with these things, with these, whether it's spirits, ghosts, souls, whatever you want to call them, or other beings? Or is it or I guess you should say, because it can be both. Is it the property itself? The fact that the mom didn't want to tell the writer there whether or not the experience happened in that house, to me, indicates that it may have happened in that house. But the grandma had abilities, and I'm guessing because the writer didn't say there, these abilities were not they were not stuck or related to or localized in this house. So it could be, again, sensitive individuals and I think it really is and or because of the grandma having abilities. But also, does that mean the house has an active presence in it? What I'm wondering is if another family were to move in there, would they have any experiences? In other words, would there be any interaction there, even if there is other consciousness entities, whatever you want to call them, there? I don't think that all this works with everybody all the time. You hear about that in some cases where there's a haunting in the house, a lot of activity, and then once the people move out of the place, the next people who move in have no experiences there. And of course, that has been used over the years to sort of disprove these things by some people to say, well, since the next family didn't have any experiences, then the first family, the last family, or whatever, must have been exaggerating or making it up. And I don't really agree with that as far as it being the case in every situation, maybe in some, but there's also the possibility that the people in the first family A, let's say, had abilities that people in family B did not. And so there wouldn't be any activity there. Or it could be that whoever was there interacting with family A was not interested for whatever reason in interacting with family B. In other words, there's so many possibilities, so many ways things could happen and work that I don't rule out experiences that people have just because other people move into a location and have no experiences. So yeah, I'm not sure what is going on there. I don't know. As far as the writer says, do they need to move out? I would say as long as they don't feel any negative presences, then I would think they wouldn't need to. Also, if it is tied to the family, if they have inherited this ability to sense these things or these presences or beings, then moving would not necessarily guarantee that they would not have any more experiences. So, always a lot to consider in all these in these topics. We have two more left here I'll go through tonight. This next one says, when I was 15, I was awake, laying in my bed. No one else was in the room. I was just, I think, either reading or drawing. Anyway, from behind me, while I was facing the wall, I heard a woman say hello to me. Nothing else. It was freaky. I'm highly confused because, as far as I knew, the only ghosts we had in the house were shadow people. I saw one when I was around 8. I got up, walked to the hallway, saw a shadow person around the size of my dad, ran back to bed, and 5 minutes later, nothing. Not even a sound. The lights were even on. My mother had said that maybe it was the ghost of a guy's wife that had originally lived on the property long, long ago. I'm guessing they mean the voice there, not so much the shadow figure. I was wondering if any of you had any similar experiences or any information on the kind of ghost it may be, or may have been, or anything else. Thanks in advance, and that's where that one ends. And yeah, I'm not sure what was going on there. Sounds like it may have just been some kind of a frequent activity there, and doesn't say. Excuse my stomach there. I don't know why that made that noise. Anyway, I guess I'm getting hungry. They don't say that their mom had any experience or anyone else had any experiences. So I don't know. It could be that the woman saying hello was the former resident, and it could have been saying that at the present, trying to communicate with the writer there, the writer of that post. It could have also been, I do believe this happens, some kind of weird time anomaly where a sound from a different point in time came through for whatever reason. So that seems like as far as I can think of anyway, the possible explanations there. Still paranormal explanations, but again, when you look into so many reports, you do start to see patterns, and those seem to fit. That experience seems to fit those couple of possible patterns there. One more for today. Yeah, it's a longer one. So this one says, it was the year 2003, and I was just 8 years old when something happened that I have never forgotten. I remember the layout of the room perfectly in my parents' house. My duvet cover was spread across the sofa bed, the sofa itself stretching across the middle of the room, and my mom's chair tucked into the corner. That's where I first saw him. A man standing behind the chair, silently peeking out at me. He never spoke a single word, but he would randomly pull strange faces and wave at me as if he was trying to get my attention. At the time, I was absolutely terrified. Every morning, I'd tell my mom what I'd seen, but she thought I was just being silly or imagining things. That's rough. Still, the fear stayed with me for years. I hated being alone in the house and constantly felt petrified, convinced that the man behind the chair would appear again. Then, around 8 years later, if I could talk, everything changed. I was in the loft, going through old family photographs with my aunt, when she pointed to a man in one of the pictures and casually said, "That's our dad," as in the aunt's and then one of the parents' dad. The second I saw the photo, I completely froze. It was him, the exact same man I had seen standing behind my mom's chair all those years before. The same face, the same expression, just everything. What made it even stranger is that my granddad had passed away before I was born, and until that moment, I had never seen a single picture, a photograph of him, or known what he looked like. After that day, I never saw the man again. Just that one unexplainable memory that has stayed with me ever since. And that's where that one ends. And I've heard similar and read similar accounts where it seems like relatives that people don't know in life show up and try to communicate with them and don't realize and don't intend to, but and then don't realize that they are frightening the people. And then later on, the people find out who these relatives are, and it's really fascinating because I've heard and read so many cases like this, and it's sad because obviously, not every person that appears to a relative would want to frighten them, but because it's unknown, it's someone that's just appearing. Uh, it's someone. I mean, if he was behind a chair, that doesn't sound like a ton of space to be standing in. So again, these people in positions or places where how would they get in there? How would they get out of there? That kind of thing. I can understand why the people would be frightened. And if you think about it from the person's perspective that's having the experience, they don't know these people. Now, sometimes people do get sort of a sense or feeling that it's a relative, and or the apparition will sort of give off this friendly or kind or this energy that sort of comforts the people. Or it could just be the way, again, everyone's different in how they react to things. So, yeah, it's fascinating how these visits from loved ones can play out in different ways depending on all these variables. How what kind of energy, if any, the apparition is giving off, what kind of senses of the paranormal the witnesses have or don't have. Uh, all these, like I said, variables that probably shape the experience and lead it in whatever direction it goes in. So, but anyway, that is all we're going to do for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.